Wow, have we got a show for you? You're going to meet Chris Cooney. He has spent the last 8 years of his life making 844, the vegan zombie movie. He's the writer, he's the director, he's the star of this extraordinary film that sends your head spinning with, oh my God, so many wild twists and turns. Prepare to scream. Cooney plays a student trying to figure out why the people around him are turning into zombies. Could it have anything to do with all the cheeseburgers and milkshakes they're consuming? You're going to have to watch to find out. Cooney funded this venture, a feature film, through a Kickstarter, and he made the entire film production entirely vegan. No animal products served or used. Along with Cooney, the cast includes famed Dr. Michael Greger in a mesmerizing cameo, along with, well, me, playing, of course, a reporter. So make sure to stay tuned for the premiere date of this one-of-a-kind film that will have you squirming in your seat. We have eyes on the ground at Amherst General reporting live. Let's see what's unfolding. Pat, what can you tell us?
Hey, how do you think they actually get the milk out of a note?
Maybe we can get together sometime and cook up some vegan cheeseburgers or something?
Yo, bro, I left my wallet in your truck.
What the?
Hey, we need backup!
Blockades at all points leading in and out of Amherst.
People are complaining of dizziness and stomach pains. People are, oh my God, what are you doing?
Get down!
Hell
Wait, that's gotta be it, right? Okay, wait, what do you mean?
So, don't eat animals, fools.
Hopefully those things don't want to eat us too.
And we are so honored to have Chris Cooney, the writer, the director, the star of this incredible film. Oh my gosh. It is just a 5-star thriller. And I want to say, Chris, congratulations. I know you spent, 8 years working on this? What does it feel like to have it done?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we did the Kickstarter 6.5 years ago, but I originally wrote this in 2009. So 16 years it's been, in the works. It feels incredible to finally have the movie done and looking at what's next.
Well, how did you do this? Because looking at this, and of course, like everybody else in LA, I have that screenplay that I pull out when the police pull me over. They say in Hollywood, you've got to show a screenplay to the police when they pull you over. It's kind of a joke. Everybody's got a screenplay. But the truth is, this is a good screenplay. I watched this because, I've been involved since you first did the Kickstarter, and that was something like 8 years ago. And I honestly had no expectations. And then when I saw the finished product, I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. How did you put it together? How did you write it, then star in it, and then direct it? Break it down for us.
Well, I originally, so it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to summarize it a little bit. Back in 2009, I had a full-time job that I just didn't like. And I remember driving the back roads of upstate New York, where I'm from. And I started saying, I can't do this the rest of my life. I don't want to retire at 65 and say, this is all I did. I want to be passionate about something. So I started, brainstorming things that I really loved. What do I really love? I've always loved filmmaking. I've been around film since, my dad had Super 8mm cameras since before I was born. So I grew up with him taking little home movies, and I was pretty intrigued by that. So I love that, but I especially love the horror genre. So like, monsters, scary things, like I've always been intrigued by that. And it was a no-brainer because at that point, I had already been vegan for the majority of my life at that point. So I'm like, well, how can I take those three elements and kind of like combine them into something that I could get up every day and be passionate about something? And I started brainstorming like vegan vampires, vampires are my favorite. So like, no, I don't know. Vegan werewolves. Yeah, that might be too. And then I had an idea, the vegan zombie, where I had a whole idea for a zombie apocalypse that was brought on by the meat and dairy that people were consuming. So I went home and I grabbed a pencil and a notepad and I began writing out a script. And I wanted to make this movie. And at that point, like I wasn't like a professional movie maker. I just would put 2 VCRs together. And I remember one of the first videos that I ever put together was a skateboarding video in the 90s. And I put a song to it that I really liked at the time, not even knowing that this musician would align with me later down the road as a fellow vegan, which I would later on meet. And that was the song Go by Moby, who is a vegan advocate. And I later got to tell him that when I met him. But so I decided at the time there was nothing like it on YouTube. There was no vegan YouTube shows or anything like that. I just wanted to start making videos so I could get better at editing with like a home suite. I use the Adobe Creative Cloud, and I wanted to start making little zombie skits. But, if I didn't even know if anybody would even watch us. So I figured, why don't I also share some of my vegan recipes? Because up until that point, my friends and I would get together like every Thanksgiving or Christmas, New Year's, and we would bring all of our vegan, we would make a vegan potluck and bring something there. So I decided, why don't, John's got some great vegan stuffed shells and I make a crescent roll, broccoli cheddar roll vegan. So why don't we just start sharing some of these recipes while we do like zombie stuff, so I get better at making, editing and doing special effects and stuff like that. Well, to our surprise, it started getting a lot of views and we got a lot of subscribers. And before we knew it, we had thousands and thousands of subscribers. And then they were asking us to do a cookbook. And we're like, wow, we've never made a cookbook. So we're like, all right, we'll do a Kickstarter. And if we can get this, if we can raise this much money, we'll do a cookbook. And I did not think for a second that we would raise this much money, because it was kind of a lot of money.
How much did you raise?
Well, we got a hold of another a vegan cookbook author from Germany. His name's Justin Moore, and he does the whole series called The Lotus and the Artichoke. And they're really good books. He travels the world, finds different recipes, and then he veganizes everything.
All right, I have to jump in.
Okay,
because
sure.
I want to get back to the movie, which is what everybody's talking about.
Right.
So
well, this does tie in. This is about to tie in.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. So anyway, we ended up doing this Kickstarter. We ended up raising 3 times what we were looking for. I think we ended up with like a little over $43,000. We made a better cookbook than we were going to do. We toured Germany. We got 2014 Cookbook of the Year, and we had a successful Kickstarter. So with that success and the channel growing, a few years later, I said, okay, now it's time to do a Kickstarter for the actual movie, and let's make a real movie. So we put up a Kickstarter. We were looking for more money than 85,000, but I didn't think we would get 85,000 more than that. So we had to put like an achievable goal. So 85,000 for the movie. By the end of it, we made it by the skin of our teeth, and we were now on set to make this movie happen. And then a few things fell through, year after year went, and then the whole pandemic happened. But then in 2022, I met with a team local. We weren't sure if we were going to film it in LA or here in the Syracuse area, which was really what I wanted to do, because I got a lot of inspiration for writing this on real events that happened when I grew up here in upstate New York. So we ended up filming it here, and production began in August. Actually, Dr. Greger was on the second day of shooting. That was August 28th. And we shot this at the actual high school that I graduated from many years ago. So
wait,
that's
you're
how it
saying
happened.
August of what year?
2022.
Okay. So, wow. So 8 years ago, approximately, you started this Kickstarter, you get the money, 2022, you shoot the film. And now are you editing it as well? You're the
Yeah,
star, you're the director, you're probably the producer.
I,
Uh,
I,
did
I
you edit this too?
I took on like so many roles for this project. I did all the pre-production, the casting. Like I was like overworked like crazy. And when it came down to it, after we were done with production, our budget was so low at that point that I couldn't really afford to look out for hiring anybody else to do the post production. I did hire an amazing guy named Rob Acasella who did all of the sound design. Amazing, by the way. I did, in fact, do all of the editing myself. I did the special effect, the visual effects, the color grading, and where it is now. So the post production was done by myself and Rob.
I want to just hats off, like unbelievable, because I did not have expectations. When I looked at this, I thought, well, let's see. And it's so good. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke. I had so much fun watching this movie. I completely forgot that I was watching it for a purpose, like, oh, I've got to sort of review this film because it's a vegan event in the vegan community, and we covered that here at Unchained TV. I totally forgot all that. I was just watching this squirming, because what I love about it is how you build up slowly. Like, how did you learn that? And I'll play a clip from the first part of your trailer to give you a sense for those watching of how, well, yeah, it doesn't just start with like the zombie apocalypse. There's a buildup, which I think makes it more exciting. So let's play that first part.
Sure.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day here in Amherst. We do have some breaking news to report. There are several reports of what appears to be a stomach bug going around. Now, experts are not quite sure of the cause, but an investigation is underway. You are being advised to use discretion and stay home if you aren't feeling well.
I'll be back.
Cell mutations. If we consider a virus to be similar to a eukaryotic cell, where would the actual mutation originate? Is there something important outside, Harley?
Never mind. I guess it's nothing. Dude, it's like a ghost town in there. Everyone's going home sick or something.
Now, you're looking outside while Dr. Gregor's talking, and there's a zombie walking down, and you're kind of obviously distracted by that. He says, is there a reason why you're looking out the window? And you say nothing. I mean, this was really, really well written. How did you figure all that out?
Well, I mean, I wrote it and rewrote it over the last 16 years, probably, no joke, probably about 50 different times. I love movies and my inspiration, I wanted to make a zombie apocalypse movie that was as plausible as in reality as I could make it. And I couldn't think anything more real than I don't want to give too much away, but by the meat and the dairy that the people were eating. And some of my favorite movies, this isn't your normal horror movie. It is a horror movie by every means, but some of the movies that gave me inspiration were movies that, somewhere in the movie, usually at the end, there's this emotional tug at your heart. And movies like that, for me, I wanted to make a movie that I would like. And I just figured if I liked it, maybe other people would like it too. So if there's a movie that I would watch and it did that to me, if there was a movie that just was happy and cool and funny, I'd be like, yeah, that was a good movie. And then I'd forget about it. But if there was a movie that really pulled at my emotions at the end, I will think about it the next morning, the next week. And I will basically, what I'm trying to say is my favorite movie of all time, I saw in the movie theaters when I was 6 years old, and that was E.T. And that did that to me at the end of the movie. And I wanted to take the elements of that and kind of combine it into this movie right here, along with some horror. So I wanted the right character arcs, everything had to be perfect. And I made so many mistakes. You know, if you read the first script, it had all the elements there, but it wasn't what it is now. And over the next how many years rewriting it, I was rewriting it all the way until we were actually like on set, like, oh, maybe we need to do this, you know? So yeah, it was just a lot of rewriting and getting my producers to go over it with me and taking every little scene like a fine tooth comb. And that went all the way into post-production. When I edited the scenes, I'd be like, how's this look? We would look at it. I'm like, and that's why it looks as good as I think it does. And to go to your point, when you said you didn't really have expectations for it, I see a lot of the comments, and a lot of other people are the same way. And what I would say about that is, I agree. I feel like it's the movie that nobody's looking for, but once they see it, it's like the diamond in the rough. It's like, you got to see it. I've been trying as hard as I can to promote this, and I just feel like it's like falling on deaf ears. There's a certain amount of people that do want to watch it, but other people are just like, what is this, you know? And until you actually watch it, you don't really know.
All right. I'd like to say that I was one of the small backers of it because I interviewed you. And then there was a way where if you gave a certain amount, you could be in the film. So I am in the film as a reporter, and I'm delighted to be in it. Now, Mary Zaint, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, says she's happy to have been one of the Kickstart backers for this back in 2018 and really look forward to seeing it. Lindsay Baker says, can't wait for the premiere of this one. And Tom Vincel says, please bring this to Chicago, which brings me to the next point. We would love to help you arrange a screening here in Los Angeles. And I think that would be a lot of fun. We could do it under the Unchained TV umbrella and have you speak and get a nice crowd together. But what about that touring? What are your plans? Obviously, you know, everybody wants to have their film on Netflix, but not always does that happen, to put it mildly. So what are your plans for this film in terms of physical tours and distribution?
Well, we're obviously trying to get distribution right now. We've looked at a couple like horror distribution platforms, streaming services, but we're also submitted to several film festivals that we're still waiting on to see how that pans out through 2025. I've been saying this. I hope, like, I've done everything with the movie making business all the way up until where I am right now. I've never done this before, so I don't really know the process here. But what I would like to be able to do, as I was talking to you off camera, is I would like to be able to go to some local movie theaters. I'd like to have the right to be able to, like, just me go to a local movie theater and do like a premiere, a fundraiser for different animal sanctuaries, and split some of those proceeds from like an event like that with different animal sanctuaries. I actually had somebody reach out to me from one last month. So that sounds like a great idea. That way we're helping the animals indirectly through the movie, the message of the movie, and directly through, you know, making fundraising for these different sanctuaries. Now, I know originally when I said I was doing this, that a certain amount of the points, if it were to make a lot of money, would go to a few different sanctuaries as well. And that's still in the plan, but I don't know if the movie will make any money at all. So I'm still new to this, and I would like it to get some distribution like that. I know it's on your platform right now as far as the trailer goes. We were talking about that, but that's what our goals are right now, is ultimately to get some kind of distribution, but also retain the right to be able to travel to different local movie theaters to potentially do some fundraising that way.
Sure. And I point out, not all distribution is created equally, because sometimes where they distribute to is like, you know, Timbuktu, you've never heard of it. Nobody's ever going to see it. So just getting distribution is not necessarily the ultimate goal. It's what kind of distribution. Just word to the wise. So I have to say, people are super excited about the idea of screenings in person. So we have somebody, Tiffany, a premiere in LA. Karen LaCava. Okay. And here's the ultimate compliment. Chris, I do a biannual vegan horror event in LA. Would be happy to help promote the film in some way. So definitely check that out. We've got everybody is very, very positive about
Yeah, Mary,
your
that would be
approach.
awesome.
Yeah, using your film to help animals in sanctuaries. What I would say is, whatever city or town you're going to, help the sanctuaries in that area, because people have a connection to their local sanctuaries. They don't necessarily have the same connection to sanctuaries that are across the country. I've experienced that firsthand because
Well, that's the idea. Yeah, that's the idea,
Yeah.
is go to where they are, do like a local screening, and then split up proceeds for that specific. So the event would be like a pre-sale for whatever sanctuary. Like the guy that reached out to me is in Virginia. I would go down there. We would do an event. It could be like a 2:00 and a 6:00, and proceeds would be split between the sanctuary and me and the producers. So,
And we're getting come to Dallas, Texas, please. And Karen LaCava is saying she can help. She's a very well-known vegan caterer. She could do the catering, I'm sure.
yeah, we could have
Don't
some
want to
great
speak
events.
for her. But yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement about going to different places around the country. And now I want to get back to the filmmaking process, because I can't imagine how hard it must be. Forget you wrote it and you edited it and you star in it, but directing while you star, that is something that has always perplexed me. How are you essentially behind the camera or directing the cinematographer while you're in front of the camera? How did you pull that off?
Well, directing the scenes, having it done the way I wanted to. The director of photography was doing he was watching what was going on. So he was directing some of the different scenes of where people should be, what should be going on, how everything looked when I wasn't able to do that. We didn't have like an external monitor for me to check everything. And because of limited time and funds, we couldn't rewind and watch every little scene. So I had to basically put a lot of trust in the cinematographer that he got the right shots, stuff like that. But yeah, at all times I knew what was going on. I knew how I wanted things done. If we didn't get something shot a certain way, I would we need to do this a couple more times, because we didn't really have a budget to go back and do reshoots like other movies do. So,
well, it's very professionally shot. The zooms, the drone shots. And we have to talk about Dr. Michael Greger. I'm a huge fan. He's a very serious guy. He's written many, many New York Times bestsellers. How did you get him involved?
I reached out and I talked to his secretary, and they didn't even really ask. They were just like, yeah, we'll be up there and we'll do it, because they said yes way back when we were going to shoot it, when we first did the Kickstarter, and then plans changed. So years later, I'm like, are you still interested? And sure enough, he came up for the day and he was great. Yeah, we had a good time.
He's a trip. I love him. And I will say that he's the most generous person. Unchained TV has asked him for many, many videos, which he supplied without even a blink. And I love that spirit, because we're all in it for the same reasons, to save animals and the planet. Now, this was an entirely vegan production. So at the very beginning, we see people eating hamburgers. Were those vegan hamburgers? In other words, they were supposed to be meat hamburgers in the script, but tell us about that.
Yeah, we wanted everything. We wanted everything to look as authentic as possible, but in reality, everything was vegan. So those were either Impossible or Beyond burgers that we got, and literally everything down. So there's a scene where there's a little kid with a baseball, and I went to several different stores so I could find a synthetic baseball, not a leather one. Everything was as vegan as we could get. All the catering, all the in movie food, and the actual catering were all vegan. When I hired everybody, I mean, this is kind of not been done before. It's not really a normal thing. So every actor or crew member, I said, look, just so you know, before I hire you, like, I can't tell you what to eat or what not to eat, but this is a vegan production. So as long as you're cool with this being entirely vegan, if you don't want to eat our food, that you're more than welcome to go off screen, off set in your car, go off somewhere else to eat. Everybody was more than happy to do that. We catered everything vegan. We always had snacks on set that were vegan, and yeah, it was fun. And we did have a few people that were actually fellow vegans themselves, but not everybody in the film were vegan. So hopefully it changed other people's perspective that weren't vegan, making of what I think would be the first non-documentary feature horror movie. So yeah.
Wow. Now, so not all the actors were vegan. Interesting. Did some of them change? In other words, there's a lot of horror here. There's a lot of gore. Did it get through to these people who were immersed in the script?
Unfortunately, no, I don't think so. It became a process just to make this movie. And they just did it, really not thinking anything of the vegan message. And, things got kind of, tough, and I had to just, shoot the days that I had to shoot and just get the job done. So originally I had big aspirations. Like, I wanted this to be like I wanted all the vegans to come together. But then when I started putting out the casting call and all that, I was surprised, but like, nobody was responding. I mean, this was worldwide. Like, obviously they'd have to get to Syracuse area, but there was really no vegans that were applying for any of this. So when it got down to the last days and stuff, I basically had to hire whoever I could that could do the parts. Some of them were hired the day of certain small scenes. But yeah, some there is there's a character named Drew. You've already seen the movie. In real life, he is a vegan. And then there's a girl in the movie. Her name is Paige in the movie. She's also a vegan. And it was funny because when she answered the casting call, she said, "I just want to know if there's going to be anything on set I can eat because I am a vegan." And I was like, "Oh, wow. Like, everything is going to be vegan and everything you can eat." And she was like, "Oh, wow." And I'm like, so I got to meet a fellow vegan just coincidentally like that.
Now, this may seem obvious. First of all, everybody wants to know, what does A44 mean? I have a feeling you don't want to give that away.
I can't give that away. You got to watch the movie. Yeah,
exactly. You've got to watch the movie. But in terms of the message, I really admire what you're doing because I look at hundreds and hundreds of videos. Our streaming network is right behind me. We have 2,000 videos, and that's all I do every day is look at videos about animal rights and veganism. And so, there's many powerful films, but a lot of them are lectury, don't do this, don't eat meat. One of the things that I was talking with the head of Veganuary, the US head of Veganuary, is why they called it Try Vegan. And that psychologically takes the pressure off people and they don't feel ordered. They feel invited. So messaging is so crucial, how we approach telling people, hey, you should try this other way of life for your own health, for the planet, for the animals, for a gazillion reasons. If you want to end world hunger, if you want to end water pollution, ocean desertification, we could go on. But the point is that the medium is the message, as Marshall McLuhan said. What I love about your film is that you're being entertained, so you don't even realize you're getting a message. But what is the message?
Well, as you know, like, I wanted the message I wanted this to be a standalone horror movie. And I would just expect that since it is a pro-vegan message movie, that most vegans would support that. Even people that just don't like horror movies, maybe they're like, well, I'll support the movie, whatever. I wanted to make this for like the horror fans that aren't vegan, because as you already know, you already saw the movie, but I wanted the message to be there where you don't really hear the message until you're already like connected, to certain characters, where it's like, in order to like say no to this, you're kind of like, at that point, you're kind of lying to yourself if you say no at that point. And then the message comes in and you're like, oh man, I didn't really think of it like that. Or so, yeah, there's a character in this movie, which I don't want to give away, that hopefully most people fall in love with right away. And at that point, you're basically being hypocritical not to, connect the dots at that point. But I did want to do this like as an entertainment movie. I'm not expecting everybody to go vegan after seeing this movie. And really all my, I just want people to watch the movie and enjoy the movie. I do think that some people will have different choices. They'll make different choices after watching. And yeah, maybe some people will go vegan after watching this movie, but it's just my way of doing something differently, rather than telling or somebody to do something, basically showing something that's fun and entertaining. And then the message just comes in there. And hopefully I did a good enough a job with, what I was explaining earlier, the emotion, tugging at your heart, by the time the movie wraps up, that, it's kind of hard to just like say, okay, let's go out for burgers at that point.
We have eyes on the ground at Amherst General, reporting live. Let's see what's unfolding. Pat, what can you tell us?
Hey, how do you think they actually get the milk out of a note?
Maybe we can get together sometime and cook up some vegan cheeseburgers or something?
Yo, bro, I left my wallet in your truck.
What the?
Hey, we need backup!
Workings is always leading in and out of Amherst.
People are complaining of dizziness and stomach pains. People are, oh my God, what are you doing?
Get down!
Tell him!
Wait, that's gotta be it, right? Okay, wait, what do you mean?
So, don't eat animals, fools.
Hopefully those things don't want to eat us too.
It's so good. People are saying, I'm dying to see this. I like that, Scarlett. This looks good. It is good. I have to say, I watched it and I had no expectations and it blew me away. It's fun. I'm not somebody who wants to see sadistic violence, people being tortured. So it doesn't go into that realm. It's not gross in that sense, but it is keeping you on the edge of your seat. Like you're like, ah! No, I can't describe it. You caught it. Whatever that it is that makes people squirm and makes a horror movie good, you caught it. And what would you say that it is? What is that thing?
I mean, so many people love horror, but not everybody, but there's a lot of people that love horror. And just something I just wanted, like you said, like the story just progresses from the beginning, and I wanted it to slowly progress to a point where some movies, they get to the middle and it kind of dies down. I wanted this movie just to keep going to the climax of the movie, and then boom, it's like, wow. And I feel like, I mean, I've seen it a million times because I know I've edited it so many times, but I feel like by the time you get to the end, you don't even realize how long it actually was. But what is it? I don't know. It's just something from my childhood that I've always wanted to do. I put everything into this. I showed this to some movie making consultants of mine that I met over the years that live in the United Kingdom, and they're not vegan. And they didn't even really know what this movie was going to be about. They were helping me with technical difficulties. And when I finally showed it to them, they were like blown away. They said, Chris, what you have here is something very special. And you can tell that it's from the heart. And to me, that means everything, because I put everything into this movie. So you can tell that this is from the heart.
It really is. Okay, I want to ask about mistakes, blunders, things that you can teach us to avoid. Like I said, I too have written a script with two colleagues. I could just tell you Jamie Logan, the actress activist, and Justina Adorno, who is a well known actress who has appeared in Grand Hotel and other major films. And so I'm sure we have some rewrites ahead of us. But first of all, you made an independent film for what? Under $100,000. That's
Yes.
extraordinary. You look at the budgets of some of these films, it's crazy, hundreds of millions of dollars. This was money well spent. What would your advice be to people like myself, Jamie, and Justina about pitfalls to avoid?
Some of the worst mistakes were in the contracts. So make sure your contracts are ironclad. Most of the budget will probably go towards actual cast and crew. There were some continuity errors, so we did our best for that. And I think I did. You can still find some, but I'm okay with it. I feel like, like we'll have fun, like finding some continuity errors, but for the most part, I was able to fix most of them. Make sure the cameras, like if I could go back, like there's some things that is out of my control, like with the camera that was used, hot pixels, dead pixels. That's going to be extremely difficult to fix. Just make sure you're communicating very well with the rest of your team, and scheduling is extremely difficult with that many people, especially when you're doing an independent thing and it's not their full-time job, trying to get everybody together on a certain day and then hope it doesn't rain. So yeah, have a team. Unfortunately, I had to do a lot of this stuff myself or with my producer who happens to live in the UK. So she wasn't able to be here to help in person. So we had to like communicate that way. So there's a lot of things that, I will tell you that all the difficulties I went through, it feels so much better now than knowing that I've done and I got through it. And I think I've learned so much more because of these difficulties that I just would not allow to happen in my second film. So
let's talk about second film. You brought it up. Where do you go from here? Are you going to do a sequel, or is it going to be something entirely different?
Well, I mean, I definitely want to do something. I want the doors to open up and be able to do another film. But I would definitely want a proper budget for that one, because I did not pay myself at all for this. So all these years I've been working full-time hours, I've not taken any money. So I've pretty much, driven myself into extreme poverty right now. So I'm hoping I have another chance with another movie with a real budget. They say that if you prove successful on a first movie, then you could possibly get proper funding to make a second movie. I would hope that would be the case. You've seen the movie, so you know that people are probably going to want a sequel to this movie. And
oh yeah,
they had to out to make this movie the time frame that it is, but there's more that in my head that I've already written out, all those years ago. Like I know what happens next, so I need to, put that on paper so people can see a sequel to this movie. Yes.
So over the years, since you sat in this very spot with me when we announced the start of the Kickstarter, I got updates from you. And I'll be honest, at one point, maybe 5 years in, I was like, what's going on? Is this ever really going to get made? And you would send updates saying, don't worry, it will get made. But over the course of 7, 8 years, what were your low points? What were the moments where you wondered to yourself, is this going to get made? Because every biography I have read of people who achieved extraordinary things, there's always this moment where it seems like it's all falling apart. And the people who power through are the ones who are the change makers.
Yeah, it wasn't easy making this movie. And I there's a lot that I haven't made public. But when it was done, I was like, what just happened? But I don't want to get into all the negatives about that. I didn't touch it for like a little while because I literally I couldn't even look at it. That's how bad things were. And then I told myself I need to do this no matter what. And I just started working on it every single day until it was done. And I did. I worked on it for like a little over a year straight, almost every single day, 8 to 14 hours. And I did all that myself until it was done. And yeah,
What do you do when you're not making films? What is your day job?
Well, YouTube. I've been doing YouTube for 16 years. I'm one of the oldest running vegan YouTube channels in existence.
So that's your full-time job.
Well, that's what I did have a full-time job that I quit, and I became a full-time YouTuber. Since then, things have changed a little bit, so it's not as lucrative anymore. And I totally neglected it because I was working on the movie. So there was a long time where I wasn't posting any YouTube videos. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, people were asking me, like, you scammed us, like, where's our money? Where's the movie? And I get where they're coming from, but the person that I've always been since I was a little kid, I've always been the person that, if I say something, no matter what, I'm going to do it. And I did that. I would never let anyone down. I make sure that I fulfill all debts. And that's what I had to do here. I knew that I need to get this movie done because to me, there was no alternative. If I didn't do it, I would be wasting a huge opportunity to fill one of the biggest dreams I've ever had, which was to make a feature movie. And I wasn't going to let that happen. So I just did what I had to do. And I rose above all the challenges that were there. And, there was times that I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make a movie out of this. And I can say now that I'm very happy with the way it came out.
Hey, we've got Jenny Desmond watching from Liberia, another one of my heroes. And she says, great work. And talk about perseverance and sanctuaries. What they've done with Liberian Chimp Rescue is extraordinary. They're taking care of more than 100 chimpanzees who are abandoned on their own. And so, there's so many people doing such incredible work in this movement. And I love the fact that everybody is sticking together on this one. Like, sometimes we have, a guest on and people are like, why do you have to do it that way? And I always say, then you go do your own thing. Don't criticize them. Do it your way. It's so important that we gather together in the vegan movement. I always say, anytime we're fighting, the other side's applauding because that's what they want. Maybe we can all come together around a film like this because it's fun. And the fact is, and I'll say this, I've learned it myself, we need to have more entertaining content in this movement. People need to laugh, and laughter is one way that the resistance is dropped. When people are laughing, their resistance to an idea drops and they become open-minded. What would you like to say about that, Chris?
Well, we do have elements of comedy in this. Like, we don't take everything so seriously that it's just so serious. But, there are elements of comedy in this movie, and we wanted to just entertain. There is definitely a message there. And like I said, some people might change their choices and some people won't. And I wanted to put something out there. Like, I love, a lot of these vegan documentaries, like some of them, like I really love them, but I feel like, at least for me, like I watch them once and that's great. But I feel like a movie, like an entertaining movie like this, it's something that somebody can go back and watch, like maybe every few years around Halloween or something like that. Like, I watch the same Christmas movies every year and the same horror movies around Halloween time, like every year or every other year. I'm hoping that this can be something like that, where somebody is like, A44 is my go-to fall movie or Halloween movie, and they can always go back to it and reshare it, because once it's out there, it's the world's movie, and it does have an entertaining yet vegan message there. So
now, let me ask you a question. Okay, so I was one of those people who donated a little bit in the initial Kickstarter when you were sitting right next to me in this room, and we talked about it back in, I believe, 2018. And there were many, many other people. How many people total, and how much did you raise in your Kickstarter?
We raised a little under 85,000. It was more like 80 after they took out like their fees and the taxes and stuff. And there's a little under 1,100 people came together for that. So that's a lot of people that already right off the bat want to see this movie.
And you don't have to pay them back. They didn't donate. I certainly didn't donate thinking I was going to get anything back. I donated just to support the project. So that's good. You don't have to pay those people back.
Right. They did. The way I see it is like you're not giving the money to me per se. You're giving it to a campaign, a project that I'm going to oversee and create. So yeah, they were all involved in making this movie. Some of them were you are one of them, and there's a few other people that are actually in the movie. So you can see them throughout the movie. And then everybody else, they get perks and stuff. So there's different, some people get the script and some people come to get to see the premiere. And, some of those rewards still have to be given, but they have to wait until the movie comes out. And the other thing is I'm currently, I just actually watched this on the big screen here in Syracuse, New York. My friend runs one of the movie theaters there, and we're just looking at it to see if everything's right. And then we're going to probably do a premiere here in Syracuse and somewhere around the end of March. But yeah, I want there to be a premiere here because this is my hometown, but also out with you in LA. And I also remember before this was completely done, you were reading the script and you were like, oh no, I don't like how this is. And I'm like, oh no, she doesn't like it. So when I actually gave you the movie, I was like, oh my God, I really hope she likes this. I was super nervous. And you were just like, I'm like, oh, she probably doesn't like it. And then you text me like 2 minutes after I thought that, and you're like, oh my God, it's so good. I love it. And I'm like, oh no, I was so relieved.
Oh, well, that means a lot to me. And I just want to say you did make some revisions.
I did.
Because I'll say I'm squeamish. And you had a few people throwing up in the beginning of the movie. And I was like, cut that out.
Yeah.
Because it'll turn off a section of the population that doesn't like to see that. And I'm a member of that sector of the population. So I'm glad that
nobody wanted to do that with me. But the good thing was, it was my movie. I was the director. So I had the ultimate say, but they didn't agree with me on that. But I think it worked out.
I think it worked out. So, especially because you have people eating food in the movie, it really worked out. Whatever you did, you worked your magic. It's a great movie. When there's a movie that's disjointed and just doesn't work, you kind of feel it. You have that feeling back in the old days, leaving a movie theater saying, why the hell did I waste 2 hours and $20 on this? This doesn't leave that. It takes, it's like, it has that beginning, middle, and end, the arcs. And that's one of the things that I do want to ask you is, you said you watched a lot of movies, but I've actually taken a screenwriting course where they talk about, the arcs, and there's got to be act 1 has to have something happen at the end that triggers act 2 and the arc of act 2 and then the arc of act 3. It's even called a formula. But you intrinsically just incorporated all that without really studying that craft?
Well, okay. So the original story that I wrote was there as a skeleton, but it wasn't ready to be seen. And like I said, we would rewrite it every time. We would go over it, and I would go over it with my producers, and we'd be like, okay. And between the three of us, we really knew movies. I had other people working with me earlier on in the Kickstarter. They kind of fell off. And then we just kept rewriting until everything was basically perfect. So we couldn't figure anything else that could be better for that scene. And that's the way we did it. And yeah, I basically wrote this if I was writing a movie based on everything that I've ever seen that I liked. Some of my other inspiration were like Goonies and Stand By Me. So, not necessarily horror movies, but movies that I really loved. I just wanted to get that that goosebump factor. I wanted people to get goosebumps at certain parts. And I've already had like feedback where people did say that. People have said they have had goosebumps. People have said like, wow, that was really good. Some people have said they cried. Like, to me, that's like, if a movie can do that, then to me, that's a success.
So
But
what
yeah.
are your tips on casting? Because you had a really good cast, and you said it was hard to cast up in Syracuse, New York, but I think casting is one of the most important aspects of filmmaking. The thing is, it's a collaborative process, and it's like a three-dimensional chess game. There's so many things that you have to get right. How did you nail the casting? Because
I
it's
just
good.
set out for casting, and people sent me their auditions, and some of them were like amazing. I gotta take this person. Other people were like, I definitely might want this person, but I got to look at what else I have. And then when it came down to it, like, yeah, some people I had to just get on the fly. And then my character that I played, I was looking for somebody all the way until the day of the shooting. And I was like, if I can't find somebody, nobody really applied to that part. And I really looked for, like, I specifically sent emails to people to play that part, and nobody did. So
Like
I was
your
like,
mom. That
my,
was your mom just there. How did you find her?
well, my real mom is in this movie too, but then my actor mom. So she's a local actor here in Syracuse, and she applied for the part, and she reminded, like, I had in mind like a Dee Wallace kind of character, and I told her, and I think she played it perfectly.
She was
There's
good. And I
there
also like your sort of love interest, the girl who's got a crush on you and keeps wanting to and have vegan cheeseburgers with you because you're pretty much the only vegan in the cast in the script.
right. She is also a local actor
There she
here.
is, right there.
Yep.
There she is.
And she does a lot of things with American High, which is a local Syracuse base. They did a lot of movies. Well, they've done stuff with Pete Davidson and some other things. So she works with them, and I see a lot of reels that she does lately. So yeah, that's cool that we have her. And Nick, the guy that plays Nick, he released his own movie, a horror movie, just this past September, and it did really well over on Screenbox. It actually moved into first place above Terrifier 2 for a week or two. So he's actually in the movie. He did the same thing. He directed, acted, and wrote his movie, and that's called Creeping Death. So, yeah.
I think this is just my idea. What do I know? Because we are almost out of time, but before I forget, what about if you start raising money for your next film while you're doing the premieres around the country? Because people will be inspired. Certainly you want to give a percentage to charity, but it could be a good way to start your fundraising for the next film, because I can't wait to see a sequel.
So I know that you're saying that because you watched it, but I feel like I'm not going to be able to raise what I could raise without people seeing the movie yet. Like I said, I feel like it's the movie nobody's looking for until they watch it. So once people see it, I feel like we have a way better chance of being able to raise money for a second one than if I did it right now. People might be like, well, I don't really even know what this one looks like, so I don't know if I'll hold off,
Is there a website where people can go to learn more about the premieres?
The premiere. Well, they can follow me over an A44 movie. We have a website, which is pretty much like 95% done. It's called A44movie.com.
There you go.
It shows
Okay.
everybody on there. It shows social media, all that stuff.
A44movie.com. Easy to remember because that is the name of the film. Chris, I just want to say I am super impressed. I think you're absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
We're just about out of time, but I love your perseverance. I love your attitude. I love the finished product. And I'm really humbled and grateful to be a little part of this venture, a very small part, but I'm excited.
I'm glad you are. You played a great part, and I think I have it looking even better than when you saw it because I fixed a couple things, so it looks really good.
We at Unchained TV want to help you with your premiere in LA. Let's plan it maybe for April. Sounds like a plan. And everybody go to a44movie.com and get involved. And of course, we always tell everybody, please download Unchained TV. We are the world's only vegan streaming television network, vegan animal rights streaming TV network.
So it's a vegan Netflix. Okay, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
I love Unchained TV.
Unchained TV. Your life will change. It's just that easy.
Unchained TV has all sorts of content for everybody.
Unchained TV changed my life.
Unchained TV is crushing it.
I love Unchained TV. Unchained TV is my go-to.
Unchained TV. Who knew?
Unchained, baby, yes.